Hello everybody, welcome back and welcome to all the new subscribers I've recently had, so thank you very much. A couple of videos ago I was looking at track laying. I didn't really do any track laying, I was discussing laying track, but I certainly didn't do any track laying. Now I'm at the point of trying to do some. Just around here I've laid a couple of bits of the Pico Code 100 concrete Flexi-track and I'm gluing it down. As you can see, there's some weight on there. It then transfers into Pico set track and a little bit of Hornby flexible. This area just here will be hidden by an upper level, so it's just where the loop is going to go round. Now I'm waiting for some Pico track to arrive. I did place an order for Pico track. I thought I ordered the long stuff. It turns out I actually ordered this, which apparently is a double length. I wanted the quad length or even longer, the stuff which looks similar to this in length, which I think is about 60 centimeters long. Well, in fact it is this type of track here. I need another few of those just to go around there so I can do the sort of most minimal amount of droppers required. Whilst waiting for that track, which I did try numerous different suppliers on the internet to find, I ended up pre-ordering some stuff with Hattons. I've decided to do this area just here, which is this section here. So stupidly I cut this a bit too long, mainly because I had to put some electronics underneath to be able to supply feedback and all the other good stuff going on with these points. This particular area just here I have got a bit of a problem with, because all the wood I've got is kind of 40 centimeters long. With this overhang I need to do something slightly different. I need something longer, and I need it to curve round. As you can see here, I've got a little bit jutting out there. I need to cut some wood. So the wood I've yet to use is the stuff that I was using for my kind of soldering station area just here, which is now over here. So I decided that the best thing to do was try to make a template. So I got some pieces of scrap A4, kind of put them in place, marked them up, and I'm hoping that it will go from here around this curve and join up to this section here. So I created this template to put on the wood. As you can see, I've kind of drawn the inner area. This is the sort of outer edges of the track, so to speak. Red is where my cut lines would be, and this is the section which has got the overhang. So I then used a sharp knife and just cut out the sections like so, and I drew around them. I made a note that this is the little cut out section that I also need to cut in, and ultimately I'm left with this template. And it's a big piece of wood that I'm going to have to cut. It's 18 mils thick. I'm kind of hoping that my jigsaw will cope with this. I am not the best when it comes to DIY, so we will see how this goes. And worryingly, I think this is going to be a little bit shambolic. Done a reasonably good job on that cut just there. Could have had to do a couple of holes just to be able to turn the jigsaw around. Pretty good. I'm hoping this will just now lift off and I'll have something that will fit where I need it to fit. just run a bit of sandpaper across the edges just to make sure there's no kind of rough stuff on there, and then I'll see if I can fit it in place. Here we are, we're just in place, so let's just see, slides in and slides in there. So I am I am pretty chuffed with that. So I can now screw this down in place. Need to recess that one. I've got a couple of those little drill bits that Charlie showed, which has got the countersinking bit on there as well. So this can now be put in place, I think. This has got a little bit of a droop there, so I'm going to have to just bring this up, I think, with a bit of plastic card beneath it, just to bring this bit to being level. So let me sort that out and I can start actually laying some more track. I found out what was causing my little bit of a short just here on the double slip. It was a KD on one of the wagons. The hook wasn't bent quite enough, so when it was going across the blades it was touching and creating that short. All resolved, sorted. Now, one thing I wanted to do around here on these kind of visible curves is have that kind of, is it called superlative banking or whatever. I've purchased some of the evergreen strips. This is I think it's 1 mil in depth, so it should be okay. And I've also got a 1/2 mil version as well. I'm thinking I need to put a little bit of that first, followed by this around the major kind of area, the centre of the curve, and then when it comes back to being straight, back to this 1/2 mil version just here. How I'm going to do that, I'm not sure. I did watch one guy on YouTube where he was sticking this to the back of the Flexi-track. That is a possibility, I guess. I could do something because I'm going to run some concrete flexi along here. It starts curving about there, so I can put, like, you know, the 1/2 mil and then continue going with the mil up to this point here. I could give that a shot and see what it looks like. I probably won't film that, to be fair, because it's going to be a bit of a trial and error. I may do a little bit of research online to see how others do that. Track laying has been a little bit on the slow side. Hope you can just see here I've put some, I think it's 1/2 mil plexi card of some description from Evergreen in to try to give it this kind of super elevation. A little bit further up it actually does go to more of a 2 mil version just there, and it back down to 1 a bit further up the track. So along here it's about 2, and then it drops back down to approximately 1 again, just kind of here. Sorry about the jerkiness. My fluid head has decided to become less than the fluid. I'm not quite sure why that is. But anyway, this is the track that I've laid so far. Hopefully you can see I've been laying some track. The top end up there is wider. It's at the 6 centimeters to centers, which is more set track than streamline. The reason for that is my APT and 800s that I might run have got long noses, and I didn't want them to collide when you're running the coaches, which are quite long on those 800s. I've also managed to get the Superelevation going, and I'm now running pieces of track down the front here. This currently bit is loose, it's not wired in, but I was running a couple of trains earlier just for a bit of fun. So I thought I'd go through my process of laying, which is probably not the best, but I've been watching people like Charlie, who on his own channel and he also was the Pico demonstrator for laying Pico Flexi-track as well. And I'll link that video as well. So once I know what I'm doing, I can then get my piece of track, I lay the track down, work out where I want my droppers to be, mark it on the track, mark the area on the tread bed where I'm going to drill a hole. I then solder up the track, bring the track back, make sure that the hole what I'm going to drill is in the right spot, drill the hole, glue, and then I put this down, and then I do tend to leave this overnight with some weight on it if I can, and allow it to bond nicely to the copy decks, and it does hold it really nicely. So I'm going to do that right now for this bit of track. I'm just adding a bit of a red mark on here just so that I know that this is where the red wire will go and the black will go on the other side. I'm going to pull the track back a little bit just to give me a bit of space there to solder. Got to take my fish plates off that I've put on. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to try to do these so they go directly underneath the track as opposed to into centre. So we're going to try something different. So here's my track. So I'm just going to use a file to rough up the track underneath, because I always find that seems to make it slightly easier to get the solder to bond. So I'm just going to rough them up. Like so. So I'm just checking, I've got my red marker here, so I'm going to put my red wire on this end. So to make this flow nice and easily, I just need to get a bit of solder on the tip, and hopefully without melting the track, put that on and add the solder, like so. It's quite important apparently to put the solder onto the tip, because it gives more surface area contact and everything contacts a bit easier. This is a lead-free solder, so it is a little bit more complicated to use. So I'm just, if you want to know, my soldering iron is set at 350 degrees Celsius at the tip. So I'm going to double check. Red is that side. Here is my dropper, and I'm going to try to solder that as best I can to there. So I've just turned it around so I can get my hand at the right side. Double checking red. So this is something slightly different. So I've already tinned the end. I'm kind of hoping that this is going to work. I'm just going to put a little bit more solder on here like so, and then I am going to try this. Got a bit of flow there, which is good, and we're going to try the same again with this one. Put a little bit on the iron. And hopefully you can get a good result on this as well. So it doesn't take long, and that's straight away gone as well. So they're both in. So I'm kind of hoping, with those now soldered in place, I can push those tracks back up. Actually, that does look pretty reasonable. So maybe that's my new operational standard. Now it's time to lay the track, so I'm just going to fit the track. So it's time to just put those fish plates back onto the end there. I'm using one of these bent ends. Hopefully that will slide on okay. There you go, fish plates are on. So now I can put the actual piece of Flexi-track in, but just before, so I should be able to roughly put these in and then estimate approximately where I need to mark up my holes, which is about here and about there. So remove it again, and I'm going to find my glue. And I believe this goes all the way to the end, which it does. So I'm going to glue the entire length now with my copy decks. Now I've made a mistake. I've glued over bits that I was meant to drill on before doing that. Whoops. So I'm going to have to now drill whilst there's wet paint, which is not a good idea. So for those of you watching, if you've got this far, thank you very much, and apologies for the mistake, but you know, these things happen, right? So I'm going to try drilling my hole. It's going to make a mess. That's the glue from underneath. Couldn't make it up. Not really what I wanted, but we'll hide all the errors anyway with ballast and all the other great stuff you can do. Okay, whack a little bit more on. Nothing to see, nothing to see. Time to hope now that the red and the black go through. Like so. Time to redo the fish plates. So they're now in. Just going to run this set tracker through. I don't know if you can see down the far end, but it's certainly not straight at the moment. So I'm going to run my set tracker through. It's pulled it off, and of course I should have probably thought about that. There you go. Right, let's do that again. So, mental note, I wanted to pin these, but I was watching Charlie and he pins the outsides, and I've been pinning the centre of the chairs, and I think actually Charlie's idea might be a much better option. I've ordered the pin vise with a smaller drill bit on it so that I can actually achieve that without anything else. Okay, so I'm going to hold that in place there whilst I run, if I can, this through. It certainly is a tight fit, but I don't want to lose anything going through. Right, so that's now straight. I'm kind of happy with that. I just need to double check 50 cent. It's going to be slightly off to one side, but that's okay. That's okay. I could bend it if I needed to, but I won't. So well, that is now. I can leave that in. So I can put a bit of block work on, just hold this down. I'm going to stick that on there, put some weights on it in a second. This is looking pretty good. There's a little bit of a lift just here, so I'm going to weigh this down. So actually I'm quite pleased with the way that they look. You can barely see them actually, so that might be the way to go forward in future. And I just got to put a couple of spare pieces of concrete chairs in there just to hide that gap, which I will find a few now and put in. So I've got a couple of chairs just here from a spare piece of track. You have to cut the chairs, or you cut, what do they call these, the chairs? You've got to cut the little bits off here so you can slide them under and it doesn't raise it up. So I'm using a pretty sharp, hopefully it's a sharp scalpel, just to cut those down so I can slide them under. This is more like pushing them down than anything else, and hopefully they should slide underneath here, although I might just want to cut that end off just there. Hopefully these will now slide under. Maybe two is too many. Maybe I'm going to have to use one here actually. I'm going to use this slightly thicker blade to do this work. To the experts, this is not going to look perfect. But I think it'd be relatively close. So there you go. So it's sitting there. It will get itself glued. I might need to just actually cut those chairs flush. So I'm going to have to cut them off completely, I think. There we go. Yeah. So I think that looks. That don't look too bad. I'm pretty pleased with that. So thank you very much for watching the video on track laying. I know it's not been a lot of track laying, but there has been some. And if anybody's got a better solution, a better way of working, then please do let me know in the comments below. So thanks very much. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. If you got to the end, thank you very much for getting to the end, and I hope to see you again at the next video. Thanks. Goodbye for now.